for me, writing books with content that's specifically set to serve and support women was the answer, was everything coming together. It could call upon my experience and my learnings as a mom of 4 boys, dealing with going from being completely in over my head in the weeds to learning the tools that helped me and then saying, wow, I wish I could share this with myself 10 years prior, right? So now I'm all about sharing with others the very things I wish I knew.
Hey, it's Renee. Welcome to the Into the Wild Show, the podcast for women who want to build incredible mental strength to level up their business and lifestyle. I'm Renee Warren, the founder of We Wild Women, author, speaker, award-winning entrepreneur, and your host. Together, we will make you unapologetic about shining your light, growing your business, and turning you into a wildly confident and successful leader. This is for you, the visionary, the go-getter, the entrepreneur, and for those that need a real kick in the butt to get going and to dream bigger. Each week, I bring in leading experts and entrepreneurs to help you take leaps in the right direction, because I know the best advice comes from someone who has successfully done it before. So, are you ready to level up? Welcome to Into the Wild. Hey, you wild women. My next guest is an MBA, a licensed marriage and family therapist, a best-selling author, speaker, and mother of 4 sons. She has over 25 years of experience in mental health and co-founded the Mecca Project to help teens and young adults thrive mentally and emotionally through conscious awareness. Amber has been featured in People, Oprah Magazine, CNN, Motherhood Maternity, KTLA5, and many more. In this episode, Amber and I discuss what it means to be an unflustered mom, her new book called The Unflustered Mom, how to identify your anxiety style in order to find the right tools to work through your triggers, and how this all relates to running a successful business. Please welcome the incredible, a friend of mine and client, but more of a friend, Amber Trueblood.
Thank you so much, Renee. I'm excited to chat.
My memory of you, beyond doing this incredible work, is being at your house when your kids were on the roof.
Oh, yes. And we're going to talk about anxiety today, so that'll be perfect.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because you have 4 incredible sons that are super talented musicians.
Yes.
Tell me about them. Tell me about your family dynamic.
Yeah. So the family dynamic, oh my goodness, chaos, noise, fun, laughter, creativity, just to name a few words. But yeah, Renee was in our front driveway, right? We were all just like sitting in chairs in the driveway as the kids, well, because it was a Sunday fun day. And so all of the neighborhood kids come over and kind of congregate around our house on Sunday afternoons, and we order pizza. And the newest thing is that the older kids get up on the roof, and they were, I believe, were they trying to throw basketballs into the basketball hoop from there? Yeah, that's what was happening.
And my kids and those were like your older kids, but my boys were looking at it, and I just know in their mind there was like the temptation to do it. And I'm like, no, we're in a different country and I just don't want anybody getting hurt. So let's not do it. But what I loved about it is that how you and Jamie raise your kids, because you let them take risks. You let them, I guess, free to roam and test the waters and like dabble in things that they want to do and do something that's a little bit scary.
Right.
Like you are not helicopter parenting your children.
Right. Well, it's so funny because we helicopter on the areas that are important to us in different ways. So I would say, and I don't know that helicopter is the right word, but we really use a lot of purposeful parenting, less free roam when it comes to setting them up for how they eat, for instance, like the foods that we eat and give them access to, we're pretty, I want to say purposeful, let's say purposeful about. And devices, like how we use technology, we always try to talk about creating before we consume and being more of an active participant in life versus an observer. And so lots of times, that feels like we're a lot more hands-on. And then when it comes to freedom to create, to get messy, to, move your body, to do things that maybe, feel a little bit unsafe, we are more open about. And I let Jamie take the lead on that because, he lets them do stuff that I wouldn't be as comfortable with, but I feel confident in his limits. Like I know where he draws the line, and I feel confident trusting him to say, okay, this, yes, this, no. You can go this far. And then it's like, it goes the difference between like, if you fall, that's like urgent care or like a very short ER visit versus like hospital. No, we're not dealing with that. That's too much of a risk. So
I love your filters.
Yeah.
They work.
Yeah.
So tell us, you're here for many reasons, but you are in the midst of publishing a book called The Unflustered Mom. And you have like this extensive background in a lot of amazing work that you do. Tell us a little bit about the book and kind of how it came to be.
Well, I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. And when I was starting out in that world, I was doing one-on-one therapy, and something was just not a good fit for me. It didn't work in the way that I thought it was going to work, right? It wasn't making the impact that I wanted to make, and it wasn't quick enough. Like it wasn't making a big enough impact to enough people. And it was super frustrating. And I had 4 little ones at home at the time. So just logistically and financially, it didn't make a lot of sense. And if anything, I'm all about trying to use the limited time and energy I have in a way that lights me up and makes sense for us as a family, right? So with those two things, I kind of sat back for a little bit and thought, well, what can I do? How can I make an impact and really help people on a broad scale in this lifestyle that I have as a mom with 4 boys? And at the time, I realized suddenly, and this was maybe 5 years ago now, I have to have a little caveat and say that I'm also obsessed with books. One of the things that really lights me up is books, reading books, physically being around books, sharing books with others, and writing books. So for me, writing books with content that's specifically set to serve and support women was like, was the answer, was everything coming together. It could call upon my experience and my learnings as a mom of 4 boys, dealing with going from being completely in over my head in the weeds, like what just happened? What did I do? How did I set what is going on and how am I going to survive this, to learning the tools that helped me and then saying, wow, I wish I could share this with myself 10 years prior, right? So now I'm all about sharing with others the very things I wish I knew when I was in the weeds. And it doesn't have to be with small kids. It could be feeling in the weeds with teenagers or with one child who is a challenge and they're 9. It's not age related, right? It could even be like dealing with aging parents, like anything that is adding challenge and overwhelm to your life in a way that you just feel like you need some new tools, right? You need some tools to put in your emotional toolbox, so to speak, both practically and psychological tools as well.
So you have 4 boys.
Yeah.
And what are their ages?
So now they are 10, 12, 14, and 15 years old.
Wow. So how you had 10, 12, so you had 5 under 5 at one point. No, 4 under 5 at one point.
When Ethan was born, Cameron, my oldest, was 5 years and 2 months.
Wow.
And at the time, Renee, it didn't seem crazy. Like I have to say, like each one of them were on purpose, total decisions. Like I wanted to jump in again. And now it's funny because I'll see a mom, like a pregnant mom, pushing a stroller and like walking next to a toddler. And I think, holy mackerel, like what did, these like weird judgy things come out, or concern. And then I think you did the same thing. And it felt completely normal to me at the time. And like most moms or anybody really dealing with struggle, there's beautiful, amazing parts of it. And then the flip side of almost that same coin can be, feeling really isolated, feeling overwhelmed, feeling exhausted. And I felt like I had this strange combination of like, well, I'm exhausted, but I'm also bored. I am like fulfilled and like around people all the time, but also like really isolated and lonely. And so trying to kind of dissect that and figure out, well, I don't even understand. I can't even explain it to myself. How do I explain it to others? And then how do I move through this and learn from it and go to a place where I'm actually having fun? I mean, right? Like actually enjoying myself. Because my worst nightmare is I did this all on purpose. If I'm miserable, like what did I do to myself? So I want to figure out a way that I can actually enjoy myself and enjoy this process. And not 100% of the time, but most of the time.
So, I mean, yeah, I can imagine you have some stories of chaos.
Yeah.
In those moments. I mean, we all do. One kid or a dog or 5 or 10 kids, there's always something in there. What do you think, especially when it comes to parenting and maybe even people that are parenting and running a business, what causes overwhelm?
Ooh, I love this question because I think that I answer it a little differently than a lot of people would. Personally, I believe that overwhelm is not the number of things on your to-do list or the amount of pressure you're under by others, or even the number of hours in your day, right? Like that feel open, right? Oh, I don't have any time in my day. To me, that's not overwhelm. To me is the degree of alignment between your time, money, energy, and attention with what is most important to you. So if you have, say, 95% alignment between your time, money, energy, and attention and what's really important to you, you might be busy, but you're fired up by that. You're energized by that. You're not depleted. When you have 10% alignment between what's important to you and how you're spending your time, money, energy, and attention, then you're depleted. You're frustrated. You're probably resentful. You might be angry. You might feel depressed. You might feel out of control. You might feel hopeless. So to me, it's all about really identifying what the heck is important to me right now. Because it might be different than it was 5 years ago. It's likely to be, right? And it'll be different down the line. But right now, given your personality, your values, your relationships, your family dynamics, your logistics, like where you are on the planet, your health levels, it's going to differ. So given all of those things, ask yourself, like, what is most important to me right now? And then just take a look at how am I spending my time every day on average? How am I spending my attention? What am I thinking about? What's going on in my head most of the time? That's scary, I know, but like be gentle with yourself about it, and then how am I spending my resources? Where's my money going? Where is my volunteer time going? Where is, any other resources that you have to give? Where am I giving advice? Oh, people call me for advice all the time about homeschooling and I really enjoy it. Great. That's aligned with something that's important to you. And so it's actually refueling your emotional bank account and not depleting it. So to me, overwhelm is the degree to which your time and money and energy and attention is linked to what is really important to you right now.
Ooh, okay. And right now is in this moment, or is it like in the day or the week?
That's a really good question. And I would say weeks and months, like in this season. How about that's a good way to look at it? Like in this season, what are the things that are most important to me? Because if you break it down to like today, that's going to change a lot day to day. And we can get into tools to figure that out later, because I do think that there's ways that you can really, if you have a to-do list of 40 things, there are strategies you can use to get really quiet and mindful and help. I don't want to say like really dig in and figure out what's most important to you, but let it kind of come to the surface, let it bubble up. Because deep down, when you're not distracted up here in your mental cacophony of things spinning and juggling all the plates simultaneously, on a deep level what is truly most important to you, and also what will give you the best bang for your buck today on your to-do list. So if you have that list of 40 things, I guess I'll just go ahead and share it now. Since I'm talking about it, I think there's almost nothing more powerful than doing a short meditative practice where you tune in, you kind of ask yourself at the beginning of the practice, I want to uncover the best use of my time today. right? And then you just get quiet and you do any sort of meditative practice where it's a receiving. It's not a sending out. So by that, I mean, it's not a visualization practice. It's not an affirmation. It's not a guided meditation where you're trying to send out or a prayer. It's a receiving, meaning it's something where maybe it's a very simple mantra where you just repeat one word over and over again, or it might be a 4-part breathing, exercise, the box breathing, where you breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, exhale for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts. So a very, very simple mindfulness.
I use that to help myself fall asleep at night, and it works. I'm like, I get to the 3rd cycle and I'm like, done. I'm out.
It's so powerful, right?
So powerful.
And then, so you maybe do that for whatever feels good to you. So 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 7 minutes. And then from there, now chances are, if you're an entrepreneur, your mind is seldom super quiet. So
can I wait? Quick sidebar on that.
Yeah.
Quick sidebar. My husband and I, so we'll come back to this. Okay.
Yeah.
Remember where we're talking about.
Okay.
We did a mediumship reading yesterday. I've never done this before. And it was so fascinating because Jan and I were on it at the same time. And the guy was just like, guys, your peanut gallery is so loud that he couldn't even concentrate because there were so many people that were like
jumping in.
Oh, it was
my goodness.
And I go, wow, this is like my brain. He goes, well, this is an example of your life. But it was really cool because it was like the impact that we had. And especially Dan, he said it was hilarious. But it got me thinking, the peanut gallery in my brain of all my thoughts needs to shut up. Like, it is so loud.
Well, that's fascinating. And I think, okay, so I'll finish this example and then I think we should talk about that because I'm guessing your audience, they can all relate, right? Everybody's probably nodding their heads right now. So if you are like Renee and myself and the peanut gallery is loud a lot of the time, then that quiet space, what will likely happen is you'll find a different voice will come in, and it might be just a feeling. It might be a word. It might be a thought that just pops up seemingly out of nowhere. Oh, email Renee the new media page that Addie just made live. That just popped in my head. I have not done that yet. And you didn't know that it was live. And Addie just finished it. That's a real thing that just popped into my head as I was quiet.
Wow.
So real life example right there. And so often that will happen. And so I will keep a blank sheet of paper, especially if you're new to this practice. If you're not new to this practice, then you already know it really works. And you can wait till you come out of it to write your list because you begin to trust yourself more to remember what those 2 or 3 or 5 max things were that are most important to you. If it's new to you, then we're going to want to have a paper and just write down, okay, media page to Renee, and then just go back into your quiet breathing. All right. So I highly recommend that for busy entrepreneurs, and that will help you really pull out, and you're touching something deeper in you that knows what your head up here doesn't know.
Hi, all. This is Amber. I'm the author of The Unflustered Mom. Do you ever feel so frustrated, overwhelmed, anxious, irritable, impatient, and just flustered? Well, I have the answer for you. The book is called The Unflustered Mom, and it's all about learning to go from flustered to flourishing by understanding your core drivers, your triggers, and what's going to serve and support you, because that's going to be unique to you. So I hope that you order it today so that you can feel more calm, more confident, more collected, and more connected to the people who really care about you. I also have set up for you a bunch of amazing bonuses. So if you go to ambertrueblood.com, you can click there and put in your anxiety style, and I will send you all of the bonuses. So get it today because you deserve to feel better.
So I keep Post-it notes next to my bed. And I get these downloads maybe in the middle of the night or when I can't sleep. And this is like, I'm in this process of creating Facebook ads with my ads girl, and we're really honing in on some Instagram stuff. But I was like, there's a really big, important question that I have to answer for my audience. And I'm like, why is PR important? And I was like, here's all the things. But even a month ago, no, maybe more than that, 2 months ago, the same moment, I was like, I had all of these options of things I could do to move my business forward. I could hire a publicist or to help get me in the media. I could hire a PR coach. I could hire somebody on the team to help me pitch client stuff. So there was 6 things that came up. And I was like, I could execute on all of these. The problem is that I wouldn't be able to measure it properly. And so I really had to look at it.
Because they'd all be happening at once.
Yeah. And I had to look at it. It's like, what is the actual thing I need to do? But keeping that blank piece of paper close to you, next to you, and like every room of your house is so important, because when you get those downloads, you write it down. What I love about Post-it notes is that I always, you can't see this now, but I put stuff into my notebook. So I write the sticky and then I post it in to my notebook so that I can move it around as my day shifts. But anyways.
I love it. Well, speaking of the mediumship thing, which is fascinating to me, so fascinating, and the peanut gallery and the noise level, this is something that I love to share with, especially impact makers, entrepreneurs that are looking to make a positive impact in the world. And I'm guessing that's most of the people that you attract. And the people that want to make a big impact often show up, right? They do, they give, they plan, they think, they strategize, they network, we talk. Okay. So if you'll imagine like a straw, right? We're constantly blowing outward. We're blowing, we're giving everything, the energy, the content, the inspiration, the advice is going out. Okay. And life and this planet and the universe is about balance too, right? And my guess is that you also want to be receiving clients. You want to be receiving value for the value you're giving. You want to continue your learning as you're teaching others, right? You want to continue your growth. So you must give yourself space and time and opportunity to receive. So if you are constantly blowing out of your straw, you cannot suck anything back in. You can't, because you can't do both at the same time, right?
Only babies can.
Only babies. Okay. So you're done with that.
You get wrinkles around your lips from
you get wrinkles.
blowing out
We can
too
have
much.
all kinds of fun metaphors with this. So, things like meditation are so powerful, and mindfulness walks and mindfulness showers and being in nature and grounding yourself, because it gives you an opportunity to receive. And that's something that probably, like you, Renee, does not come naturally to me. It's very weird and uncomfortable. And when I talk about it a lot, my husband, for whom it comes very naturally, it's like, well, I don't understand why you have to like explain that to people. Like to him, it's just like, well, to go just sit in the bath and zone out, or, listen to some music. Like comes, and there are people like this, a lot of them, who it comes very naturally to. They can go for a jog and they get into a meditative state.
Oh, my husband.
Yeah.
How I would love to come back in my next life as a dude.
And maybe it's about that. Maybe it's that there's something different that comes to giving yourself permission and finding value in those quiet moments, and not only relating our value to our accomplishments.
Yes. Okay. I wrote this down as you were talking, because I think about anxiety, and I know that in your book you talk about anxiety styles, and we want to get to that. But I was like, what causes my anxiety for the most part? The biggest one is when I don't have control over something, situation, whatever. But really, it's when I look at the things that I have a to-do list for, whether I wrote it down or it's a mental to-do list, even something like, I want to paint the wall of my bedroom this green color because it's the color of the year for 2023, and this is what I want to do. But I never get around to doing it. But because it never happens, it's still this little to-do list on my mind.
Okay.
So then when I give myself permission for this downtime, it's like, but I still have this mental to-do list. So how dare me take a bath if I still have to pitch a client, follow up with somebody else, paint my wall, bring my kids to soccer practice, cook dinner, prep an organic, gluten-free, whatever lunch for my kids. So when I'm sitting there in the bath, I am not even relaxing because I'm feeling guilty. Right. Because to me, it's not productive.
Yeah. So you've probably already talked about the Eisenhower box with your audience, right? The delay, delete, delegate, and do box. And just to like briefly cover that with people, it's where, if you have your list of things, it can be very powerful to go through that giant list and say, okay, is there anything on here I can just delete that really it's been carrying over for 2 months and I don't really have to do this anymore. It's not important. I can just delete it. What else is on my list that I can delay? It really doesn't have to be done till September, but I'm just carrying it in my mental list all the time, or even in my written list. What can I delay and just immediately put off? And then what can I delegate? What can somebody else do? And I always tell this, especially to moms and to entrepreneurs, is do not delegate something that for you has to be done by a certain time and day or in a very specific way, because it's highly likely that's just going to create frustration for you because you're still going to be managing it in your head even after you've delegated. So I highly recommend only delegating things that you're okay if they kind of don't get done at the right amount of time or they don't get done the way you want it done.
80% completed by somebody else is 100% done.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. So, and then what is left is then what you're going to do. The other thing, and I don't know if you've heard of this, is, and I did this for a while and then I grew out of it, which was really cool. But I got a board game that had like a small kind of tall box. It was like a small square box, like it was a card game or something. And I got the lid of it just because that's what was close at hand. And I wrote out all of the things like painting your wall that had been things that I was carrying with me mentally, but I wasn't getting to them, right? Because they weren't a priority or I ran out of time. And I just literally ripped pieces of printer paper up and I'd write them down and put them on separate little pieces, this is key, separate little pieces of paper in the box. And just like almost like a ritual, this got it out of my brain into another place that I felt confident wasn't going to get lost, right? So I knew they were there. And then every like 2 weeks, I would look through it and I would say, oh, actually, I already did this, toss it. Oh, actually, I don't need to do this anymore. Actually, that can stay in the box. And what it helped with was just emotionally knowing it's there. I can visit it at any time and check the things. And what was funny is I did that for maybe 3 months. And then I found I wasn't even going back to the box anymore.
Wow. So it's almost like journaling, right? So Rachel Luna, she talks about this. I did Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way. And just how the unconscious or conscious stream of thought thing you do in the morning where you just sit down and you write for 3 pages. It's like whatever comes to mind. And I was writing, and all of a sudden at the bottom of each page, I would just put a little to-do list. Okay. Because as you write all of these deposits, oh, you got to do this. Oh, here's a great idea. So I'd have this to-do list and sometimes I was notorious for getting my phone and like starting to do the thing. But I kept that away from me. And at the end of the 3 pages, I would go to my computer or I'd go back to my phone and I'd start looking at where that to-do list actually fit in to my day or the week or the month or the year. And does it make sense? But because you're journaling and you're letting all these thoughts out and you're making sense of things and you're trying not to make sense of things, and sometimes it just doesn't make any sense. When you actually look back at the things you wrote down, for the most part, it's like, yeah, actually, I need to do this, or that was stupid, but it helped you vet and filter those tasks. And I had some of the most biggest, hugest steps in personal growth in actually doing those morning pages, but adding that to-do list at the bottom, whether or not it made sense. And I'd go scratch it out or check things off, or I add it into my Asana board. Yeah. It was such a great activity. I can't stress enough how journaling is so helpful.
It's so powerful.
Even if it's a paragraph, if that's all you can get out. And sometimes just putting little things on a Post-it note because it's off the brain into the world.
And I know we're going to jump into anxiety styles soon because we could talk about this all day, but this is just one more tweak to that or addition is often during your day, you have your list that you're working from, and then you have a call and then 3 more things that are amazing. Maybe they're wonderful things. You're like, oh, okay, great. Yeah, I'll connect you with those people. I'll send you an email with that pitch, whatever it is. Now, instead of writing them down right there on your today list, go ahead and put them for Monday or for, next week, or for don't put them on today's list. You already have today's list. If they do need to be done today, or if it's a really quick thing, what I will do is often look and see what else is off the list and have it take its place and move that to tomorrow or the next day. Because often, right, half of our things are phone calls or meetings, or we receive an email, and that just adds to our list.
Oh, I have to insert some Mark Twain here.
Okay.
Because we think being productive is just checking things off the list. But Mark Twain says, a paraphrase, if it's your job to eat a frog, it's best to do it first thing in the morning. And if it's your job to eat 2 frogs, it's best to eat the bigger one first.
I've not ever heard that quote.
What?
No.
Oh my gosh. The whole point of this quote is like, you have to do the big, ugly thing first because it tends to be the thing that actually moves the needle.
Yes, I know the logic, but I have not heard that quote. That's so funny. I love it. I love it. Well, and I love that you said this is going to be the perfect like transfer into the dynamo anxiety style, because dynamos, I always say, you're a dynamo if you will add something to your to-do list that you have already completed, merely so that you have the satisfaction of checking it off.
Wow. I might do that sometimes.
I definitely do that.
I can't remember my anxiety style, but let's talk about this because it is such a profound, important core thing of your book.
Yes.
Right? So you have a quiz online. So where can people go to find out their anxiety style?
Okay, so they go to flourishquiz.com.
Okay, and then they figure out what their anxiety style is.
Exactly.
Now, do you recommend people do the quiz before they read the book or read the book first?
Honestly, you can go either way. I think most people find it interesting to do the quiz first because they have an idea. Like you'll listen to this and then you'll have an idea of what you think it is. But then you might be surprised, or you might have you might be a little bit between two, like executive mostly, and then lover also, so it depends. And I always recommend to people, as you go through the quiz, you really want to answer from the heart, from the gut. You don't want to spend too much time analyzing it. The way that it's formulated is to be very robust. So you might find 2 very similar things, and it's okay because they will be compared against one another multiple times. So one question, you might lean a little bit one direction. The next time those 2 are compared against one another, you might lean the opposite direction. And that's set up so that the quiz will be as robust as possible in your answer, in your results.
Okay, so let's talk about these really quickly. These 5 anxiety styles.
Yeah.
That I found in the book, but also, and how this, because the book is called The Unflustered Mom, but let me tell you, you can replace parenting with your business. It's interchangeable, right? So this stuff is really important, whether or not you are a mother, but especially if you are a mother and entrepreneur. So tell us about these styles.
Okay. Well, I'd like to say that, and this might seem obvious, but unfortunately it's not really been addressed very much in this day and age, is that, anxiety is not one size fits all. It does not look the same to all of us. So Renee, what your core driver for what might create an anxiety producing situation, what might trigger your anxiety or spark your overwhelm is going to be different from what sparks my overwhelm. And how it shows up in your life, the symptoms of your anxiety are going to be very different from mine. So you might put on your PJs, not want to talk to anybody, not want to do anything social, and break out the ice cream after everybody goes to bed. And I might throw myself into my work, not sleep very well, and be so nauseous that I don't want to eat, right? That looks very, very different.
I just get really bad heartburn.
Yeah. So knowing that is key. So because we all are triggered by different things and we all have different types of symptoms, different strategies are going to work for you than are going to work for me. So the 5 anxieties framework is one that will help people to understand their own particular type of anxiety so that they're more likely to find the tools that are going to work for them. And when you find the tools that are going to work for you, not only do you feel less anxious, yes, that's great, but you're also going to be better able to communicate your needs to other people. You're going to have less shame and guilt around those times that you do feel anxious and frustrated and overwhelmed. Because how many of us have those days where we're like, okay, this is super stressing me out, but everybody around me seems fine. They're all acting like this is no big deal. And I'm like, I can't think of it about anything else right now. Are you kidding me? Like, and so then with that can often come a lot of self-judgment or shame or frustration or all kinds of self-doubt, and which doesn't serve us, right? So when you better understand yourself, your needs, and you can communicate those needs and meet them more easily with more grace and more self-kindness, then it allows us to show up as a boss, as a founder, as a mom in a way that feels good, right? That we can feel confident and do what we're meant here to be here doing.
Oh my God, I love this. And it reminds me of when my kids started giving me timeouts as a joke, but then I started taking them.
I love it.
Yeah. They're like,
Yes.
Mama needs a timeout. I'm like, yeah, I do. And it wasn't even that long ago, but now the timeouts turned into alone time. So it's not a timeout or a time in, however you want to call it. It's just alone time. I just need to, calm my nervous system. And my kids are getting to that age of maturity where they can see it. It's starting to unfold. And Max the other day was like, oh, my mom needs to go have some alone time. I'm like, I do. Can I just be alone for 10 minutes? He's like, you go.
I love it.
He's like, pretty much, I'll manage everything else.
Yes.
Because I voiced my trigger. I voiced how I need to show up. And they recognize the fact that I need to just step away from the issue.
Yeah.
And they're like, you go deal with your stuff.
Right. And they
We'll be
say
here.
that because they want you to be happy too.
Yeah.
Right. Because it makes their life a heck of a lot easier. And so then when we are in the bath or we do take a shower or we, like take an extra shower. I mean, not just take a shower to run in, run out, get clean, shave something, and you're right, and brush our teeth at the same time. I mean, who has a toothbrush in the shower with them as well? I do.
No,
right?
No way. That's smart. Yeah. No, I don't.
Right? But I'm not trying to make your showers more efficient. I'm just saying that take a whole extra shower that's just for alone time. And that's great for mindfulness receiving also, because chances are you don't have your cell phone in there. You can't distract yourself with outside. You still can distract yourself with your own mental cacophony, but you at least won't, in addition to that, get
I got
things.
Oh, so what do you call it? What's that word? Whatever?
Cacophony?
Cacophony.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting word. I don't like the sound of it. But anyway, the way to, like, when you're in your hot shower and you're relaxing and you're going through all these moments, there's an instant way to get rid of those thoughts. And I tell you what it is.
Yes.
You crank it to as cold as possible. And you sit in that water for as long as you can stand, because the only thing you focus on is your breath. And let me tell you, whether it's 10 seconds, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is, when you warm up again, you feel like a whole new woman.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That sounds scary to me, but it's very effective.
You California girl. Okay, so I want to quickly ask one more question. So, like, the anxiety styles, go take the quiz, definitely read the book. I started reading this book, I don't know, a few months ago. I don't even know when I got the copy. And I found it hilarious at the beginning, because there's a little bit of like scary mommy, like cat and gnat meets like reality, in terms of how you shed just like some humor on these serious parts of our life and becoming a mother and raising kids and like all the stuff that we go through. And it's nice.
Thank you. Yes, nice. I'm very silly. I'm very nerdy and academic, and I love neurohacks and neuroscience and research. And then I'm also just super silly. So that comes out, I think, in my writing.
Yeah. No, it was great. Okay, so 2 more questions for you.
Yeah.
This one I love because I want to answer it for myself.
Okay.
How can busy moms who love their work and have a high passion for their purpose outside of the home create a sense of ease and balance in their life?
Read this book.
Perfect. Amazing.
Read this book. That's the first thing. Really, the answer is the more you understand yourself and you're kind to yourself about it, then because I don't think it's a one size fits all answer. I mean, I can give several things that I think will help everybody. Chugging a glass of water, taking 3 slow, deep breaths. I learn new skills every day that I utilize and love. Go stand near a tree. I just was reading Super Better. And at the end, they have all of these tactics. And they were talking about I don't know if you would call it the biology, but the science behind forest bathing and why it's impactful. And I was like, oh, I never knew that. I just thought, oh, it's nice to be in nature and be near trees. And you probably breathe more deeply and you probably oxygenate your cells. Like, I was just making up things. but there's a science behind it.
And the vibration and the frequency.
Well, they were also saying that there's something that trees exude that helps them to resist parasites and bacteria, and that the human system and our white blood cells respond to that positively. And so, what? Like, anyway,
you got me thinking about all the people that live in big cities. It's a concrete jungle. How every weekend they want to escape. And where do they go? Yeah. They don't go to another city. They go to the country.
They go to the country. They go to the beach. You go to the water, you go to trees, or you go to land, for sure. And when I was living in Toronto, I almost lost my mind emotionally. I just was, because it was gray and it was concrete everywhere and a lot of cardboard as well. Okay, go on to the next question.
No, what I loved about the question is, because I selfishly asked it, but I'm pretty sure the listeners want it too, is like, I love my work. And you said the example about like how people go and like maybe one woman will run a bath and have some ice cream. I rarely do that, but I do escape in the work because it is a productive distraction for me. Mm-hmm. But also, the more I do that, the less efficient I become.
Yeah.
And it's just a default to sit down and start working.
Okay, here's
what works, cold plunge in a sauna. Okay, and I don't do that.
Here's what I'm going to share then. And I'm going to do it by anxiety style, since we didn't get into them, but I'm going to give you one quick tip for each anxiety style. Can we have time for that?
Yep.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay. So if you're a lover mom, the tip that I'm going to recommend for you or a lover entrepreneur, is called a nighttime tip jar. So grab a jar, a basket, a shoebox, something pretty if you want, or your drawer, and you can get little Post-its like Renee uses, or cut up copy paper. You can make it as fancy or as just cheap and easy as possible. And every night I want you to write something that you love or appreciate or admire about yourself. So this is very specific for lover moms. This has to be a quality that you love about yourself, something you did, something you are, something you're being, how you show up in the world, a quality or a trait about yourself that you are proud of. And when you are feeling down about yourself, because your friend just went out to dinner, or your partner came home late again, and you're questioning whether they even want to spend time with you, or you just haven't seen your loved ones as much as you want to lately, you go to that jar and you open it and you read 3 of them. Okay. And that is about building self-worth coming from intrinsic love and self-worth. And when you're feeling more solid and more confident and more worthy, you're going to be able to show up as an entrepreneur with far more ease and grace, right? And confidence than otherwise. If you're a fighter mom, what I want you to do is ask, can I skip this fight? So ask yourself, what in my life right now am I fighting that I can just skip this one? I can sit this one out. What am I fighting that I can skip? I'm just going to opt out. Okay. For the visionary mom, I want you to get grounded. I want you to ground yourself. So I want you to spend 5 to 10 minutes outside barefoot in the grass. Go stand near a tree. Go, if you have a balcony and you can't get on the ground, just go outside, look up into the sky or at a tree or at something in nature and take some slow, deep breaths. If you're an executive mom, I want you to get silly. So I want you to spend 10 to 20 minutes, and this is like in the week. You don't have to do this every day, doing something playful and silly that is physical, right? So that could be a silly dance party, jumping on the trampoline, rolling on the floor with your pet, like something that you don't normally do that's slightly out of your comfort zone, that is letting loose, right? Because executives are a lot about feeling emotionally safe and secure and control and planning and organized. And so reaching into that other side of you. And if you do have kids, doing this with the kids or in front of your kids will reveal to them a side of you they may not see very often, which can also really help with connection, right? Between you and your kids. The last one is the Dynamo Mom. And this is what we've already talked about. A strategy I love for Dynamo Moms is a mindfulness shower. So really tuning in and getting mindful and quiet in your mind in the shower. And you can do this by tuning into all your senses. You can do this by the cold plunge that Renee mentioned. And you can also do this by, what's the subtlest smell I can detect? What's the subtlest taste I can, notice? What's the subtlest sound? Okay, I hear some birds, or I hear a car door like way down the block. Like, what's the tiniest sensation I can tune into? And that will help you tune into the present moment and really be centered in that present moment in time, which can be a struggle for dynamo moms. And when we balance that out with the do or go, achieve, it can really serve to enhance our sense of self-worth, our confidence, our calm, and reset our central nervous system.
I love it. Okay, so one last question for you.
Yeah?
When I ask you what it means to be a wild woman, what is that to you?
Okay, I had a great answer when I read this earlier today. What was it? It was so fabulous. What does it mean to be a wild woman? Okay, somebody who doesn't ask for forgiveness. And I don't mean that like if you do something crappy, okay, ask for forgiveness. But for who you are, what you're doing, and how you show up in the world, there's nothing you have to ask for forgiveness for.
I love it. So if people want to go online to find out more about you or buy your book, where can they go?
Yes. To buy my book, they can go to Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, bookshop.org. And it's also available on Audible if you prefer to listen to your books, which I think that will be fun. And my website is ambertrueblood.com.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, Amber.
Thank you. This has been really, really fun. We could have talked for 2 hours probably.
So there you have it. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Into the Wild. To make this girl happy and to help reach other women who are dreaming of starting their business, please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and everywhere you listen in. Also, if you want to find me in the wild, check me out on Instagram at Renee_Warren. That's RENEE_WARREN. And leaving you with one of my favorite tips of all time, the best advice you could ever receive is from someone who has successfully done it before you. Until next time, ladies, peace out.